Okay. Yay. Welcome everyone to this super fun event. We are so excited you're here. All about endometriosis and some PCOS conversation today. We've got Pauli here, who is a pelvic floor therapist and coach out of Utah. And maybe you could tell us like how you got into this and like how long you've been involved in this field, and then share all the goods with us. And then I will come in our next session and I will go over products that you can start to swap out and use to help your body as well. So I'm going to hand it over to you, Pauli.
Well, first, thank you everyone for being here, whether you're watching it live, whether you're on the replay. Lindsay and I both are super glad you're here because I think there's so many things that we can be doing to help our bodies naturally without, whether you want to run the crunchy route and granola route, or you just want to find solutions and answers to what you're dealing with. Because unfortunately, a lot of times the medical world, which I'm a part of, doesn't always give you a lot of solutions. So like Lindsay said, my name is Pauli and I'm a pelvic floor physical therapist, and I have been doing this for almost 14 years. And not only did I come into this on accident, I actually thought that I was going to jump into helping women after they have had mastectomies, after breast cancer, where they have sections of their breast tissue and breasts removed. That's not what ended up happening. If you want to hear more of that, I'm happy to share more of that later. But really, I want to make sure that you walk away today with some ideas of some things that you can do in order to help you with endo or PCOS. Now, if I say endo, you can swap that out for PCOS, because while they are two totally different things, I'm aware of how different they are, but I think a lot of times the body will present physically pretty similarly. And that's where Lindsay and I decided, in honor of March being Endometriosis Awareness Month, that we are ensuring that both areas are taken care of, because if we're not talking about PCOS, we're talking about endo and vice versa. So with that, let me share my screen here. Get this to presenter view. And Lindsay, tell me if you can see this. Can you see it okay? Okay, all right. So Thrive with Endo is my goal for you. And like I went through already, my name is Pauli. I'm a pelvic floor physical therapist, and I do have online programs that fall underneath No Kegels University, which is my online brand. And the other thing that I didn't mention was that I have endometriosis as well. And being emotional about this is not going to get us anywhere, but it's one of those things that I have struggled with. I have spent thousands and thousands of dollars on, and it hasn't been until the last couple of years, when I've had an increase in my flares, that I have really gotten to work to figure out other ways to manage this, because for some of us, surgery isn't possible. And the same thing goes for PCOS. It doesn't necessarily, just because you can go take hormones and all these things, that doesn't mean that that's the actual fix. I feel like there's a missing, I feel like there is a missing link between how our bodies are functioning and what we're doing for them. I think there's a gap there that should be filled, and that is why we put on today's events. So a lot of this, because I've been doing this for over 14 years, I've worked with patients. I've had consults with multiple doctors across the country, and of course my own journey and the practitioners that I have worked with personally, and I can't wait to share that with you. So a few things is, oh yeah.
It's saying presenter window on the view. Does it show like little black boxes popping up?
Yeah, let me get rid of it. Is that better? Did that fix it?
I still see presenter window on my end.
Oh no. I always do this wrong. Hold on here.
Click.
Let me try this again.
Yeah.
Can you see it now? Oh wait, hold on.
Yep, you're good.
Oh, okay. Oh shoot, sorry. Well, I always mess up something with tech. So one of the things that I want to present to you is movement. I'm going to give you a few more things as well. But I think movement is something that so many of us are scared about, which rightfully so, because when you're in pain and when you feel awful, why would you want to move, right? That's nature telling us like, just go rest. However, if you're feeling icky day after day after day after day, well, now you're missing out from those benefits. So when I'm talking to you about exercises or bring this up, my first rule always is I want it to be pain-free during, and I want it to be pain-free after, because a lot of these movements are designed to encourage our guts to move, which sounds really weird. And I know when I first learned about it, I thought, this is a bunch of hoodoo, voodoo, witch doctor shenanigans. I don't want any part of it. But I had pain-free periods for the first time in my life once I started encouraging my guts to move. And I can talk more about that if you have questions. But a lot of the things that I'm going to give you is to A, wake up your pelvis, but B, to get those guts moving. Because whether it's endo, whether it's PCOS, all of our guts are supposed to slide and glide on top of each other. If you've ever held an organ, if you hunt or if you just even cooking, if you like go to pick up a piece of meat, it kind of slides all over the place. And the reason that is because the covering, it's called the viscera, it's supposed to slide and glide. However, in the presence of PCOS, right, where we have a bunch of cysts possibly rupturing, that's creating trauma, that's creating inflammation. Or we have endo and we have those sticky endo lesions that oftentimes, if you've had surgery or you've known a friend, I could sit and tell you when the 2 surgeries I've had that they had to peel my uterus off my lumbar spine. That's because I had a bunch of endo lesions there, making everything sticky, not allowing things to slide and glide. So then we have all this trauma and inflammation in our guts, and our guts are not able to move. So when I'm leaning backwards or leaning forward, or I'm bending over to pick up my kiddos or feed my dogs, sometimes that can be painful, or sometimes that can flare things up because we have dysfunction where everything isn't sliding and gliding like it should. So when I say pain-free during, you might have pain-free movement during. That feels probably very easy for you to do. But the tricky part is to create that pain-free movement, to allow this to still be a pain-free motion or exercise afterwards. So that might be that you have to pull back. That might be that, okay, well, I feel like I can do more in the moment, but maybe I should take it back a notch before I move on to the next, just to see how your body manages it that day and even into the next day or after. And that one's kind of hard, but you'll get it. Rule 2, low and slow. I think sometimes anytime new information is presented to us, we want to go all in. Our brain is telling us that we need to jump in full feet and do all of it. I get that, and I appreciate that, and I know your body appreciates that. However, when we start adding, and I see this all the time with my patients, that they're super excited because I'm presenting a different way to them, and they come back and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm in so much pain, but I felt so good after I saw you. Why is that? Well, they went hog wild and they did way too much. So keep these movements slow, however that pertains to the particular exercise. And the third thing here is that my goal for you is that you are somehow able to find a way to maintain movement of some kind. Most days is the goal here, but it doesn't have to be constant progression. Because again, if you feel icky, maybe you do need to take a rest day. But whether it's endo or PCOS, both bodies, no matter what we're talking about here, they are in this constant state of inflammation. And moving is a really lovely way to get more blood flow to the area and to get rid of and to clean up all that junk and ick and inflammation and bring nutrition and oxygen and all those other appropriate factors needed for growth, needed for health, needed for resilience. And of course, consult with a medical provider before beginning any exercise program. Let me be clear about that. All right, so the next thing here, oh no, there we go. So when I talk to you about these type of exercises, I have broken them up into 4 levels, and yes, I named them kind of funny. A, to hopefully stick, but B, just to provide some humor here, because oftentimes when I present it this way, my patients are like, well, that's nothing. Well, the other caveat here is while you might already have a physical exercise program or a workout program you love, let's face it, there are probably days when you are struggling, when you can't get out of bed, or you feel so icky, or you feel so whatever, that your normal workout routine is not going to cut it. And that is where this comes in. Or you might be one of those endo gals that is stuck in bed for 5 days leading up to your cycle, 5 days during your cycle, and 2 to 3 days later because you're so tired after laying in bed. Well, I don't know what the math is on that, but that's almost half the month. That's no life to live. And so this is where I want you to kind of work to figure out what exercises you can and can't do. So in my Thrive with Endo exercise program, I walk you through all the 4, but I'm gonna give you some insights here today. Number 1 is hit the hay. All these are able to be done laying in bed. And so while I will give you some of these exercise ideas, also go create your own. There's millions of exercises to do. You can take any exercise and change it a little bit here, change it a little bit there. So you don't necessarily have to rely on what I'm saying. You can take these principles and go run with them yourself. So hit the hay really is anything you can do laying in bed. Because again, there might be some of those days. Exercise level 2 is mop the floor. I should have said like cut a rug or something, but these are exercises that can be done on the floor. They're not necessarily laying down on your back. They might be on all 4s. They might be kneeling. Some version of being on the floor, but not necessarily on your back like you would be in bed. And either of these can be done in the bed, on the floor, whatever is most comfortable for you. And the other note that I'll say here too is oftentimes a lot of my patients and my coaching clients, they will say things like, well, I feel like I could do other exercises in level 2, but I can't do some in level 1. That doesn't make sense. I wouldn't worry about it trying to make sense. Like I said before, one of the big goals here is that we are having movement to have more blood flow, more nutrients, more oxygen to our tissues to help us get rid of this inflammation that is more than likely plaguing us. And I say us because I have endo, Lindsay has PCOS, and I would imagine that many of you are either have it or suspected to have endo or PCOS or both. And then level 3 is standby. These are exercises that you can be doing in standing. And that could be a mini lunge. It could be a mini squat. It could just be even standing there doing bicep curls, which maybe standing is too much some days. And you could sit on the floor. You could sit on the floor with your back propped up against the couch and do some bicep curls. It doesn't necessarily have to be certain exercises that have to do with your belly. Movement and blood flow is still the goal here. And then 4 is strut your stuff. This is a lot more dynamic. So this might be doing a walking lunge with a twist to create some rotation in your belly. So it's a little more dynamic, not necessarily sweat inducing or increasing your heart rate, because again, if you remember one of those rules that I talked about, low and slow, that's how I want you to start it. And then you're going to decide what your body can and can't tolerate as time goes on. All right, so those are some options for exercise. But one of the other things that I wanted to talk about here was some of the things that, again, when I said there's a gap between what medical professionals are telling us and then how our body is functioning, I think there's a lot of pieces here that, again, the gap could be filled in. So I'll talk about some of these. I'm happy to answer questions now, or even later in the comments, especially if there's a lot of you that are watching this on the replay. I don't want you to feel like I'm skipping over them because there's a whole nother page. I will also include the PDF here so you can take it and run with it if you want to. So one of the first options that I do encourage, because of how we talked about swelling and inflammation, is using a dry brush. Number 1, these can be very affordable. I think mine off Amazon was like $10 or something. It might have even come free with, I don't know, some tanning package I got, which is not toxic free. But anyways, that's my choice. But so the dry brush is really great because it's helpful to stimulate that lymph system, because the lymphatic system in our body, that is a good chunk of our fluid. So I don't know if you've ever seen someone talk about like, oh, I have a lot of swelling in my face. I know a lot of women, and I do this myself, that I'll use like a gua sha tool on my face just to get rid of some of the puffiness and the swelling. The dry brush is essentially the same thing for the whole body. And it's very easy. You can go look up some diagrams and such. And look up the diagrams when you don't do this. Don't just do this willy-nilly, because we have different parts of our body where we have lymph node collections. So our armpits is one of them. And the idea is well, anyways, I'll let you go ahead and take a look at those diagrams, but I can answer more questions later. The second thing, one of my favorites is, I call it the rocking cat. So you're on all fours like I am in this video, and you're just rocking forward and backwards, and you're gonna rock side to side, and then you're gonna hula hoop both directions. No matter what stage of this you're at, I really like this because number one, it's a great way to get a lot more blood flow to our pelvis. It's a really great way to get our pelvic neuromuscular system firing, which may or may not mean anything to you, but I like to think of the pelvis as Grand Central Station. So ensuring that this is working and working well, again, bringing blood flow to the area, this is one of the ways that we can do it. So whether you have endo, whether you have PCOS, it's a great way to get this working, because when we're in pain, when we have swelling, when we have inflammation, any number of those things, which PCOS and endo falls under both those categories, the body is designed, when it experiences pain or any of those, it actually will tell the body, tell the nerves to tell the muscles to shut off and not work in some places. So again, this is a great way to be like, hey, everybody awake, let's wake up and do this. So that's one of my favorites. It seems so silly. It might seem dumb. It might feel like a waste of your time. You will be surprised. And we do it in all three planes because we're 3D people living in a 3D world. The next thing here is red light therapy. I never was a modality user because I really believed in using my hands and I really believed in exercise. I have seen amazing things with red light therapy. And the way I like to break it down, and if you've noticed, while I am a medical, like a healthcare provider, I like to dumb things down as best I can, because if it makes sense to you, you're not having to go look it up, or just maybe your brain skips over it. But the way I like to say this is it's really great caffeine for your cells to heal and such. I have used this myself. This is actually one of the things that I have personally added in to my sometimes nightly routine. I'll just lay with it on my belly in bed. I have a code if you are interested in getting the one I have, and it's flexible. That's what I really like because my kiddos use it, my husband use it. You can mold it. It's not just, they have some that are just panels. This particular one from Therasage, it's moldable. So my kids use it quite a bit. Sometimes just not for any reason in particular. The next thing here is the Nike swoosh. So I quickly learned that there are some things that are totally out of our control. So when I have here, just do the pain, I don't mean suck it up, buttercup, and get to work. What I mean is if you wake up and you're like, okay, today is not going to be a good day, just understand I need to accept, but all right, body, we're going to have a pain day and we're going to do what's best for you on this pain day. Maybe you dry brush, maybe you do the rocking cat, maybe you do the red light therapy, maybe you do some of the other things I'm going to talk about here. Maybe you just lay in bed. So it really, I don't want to say it doesn't matter what you do, but I think a lot of it is, and personally, I do this myself, I fight it. I fight with my body rather than saying, because pain or any symptom that our body is having, it's our body telling us that something is wrong. And that's where I sometimes disagree with the general medical world saying, oh yeah, here's some Advil, here's some Tylenol. No, thank you. Let's figure out what the root cause is. And sometimes there is no root cause except, okay, I'm having an endo flare today, or my PCOS and my hormones are freaking out of control. But just really having some grace for your body and say, okay, we're going to have a pain day. We're going to have an icky day, however you want to call it, and do the things that you know work best. And you might even be sitting here thinking, well, I don't know what is best. That's why I'm here. To be quite honest with you, some of this is going to be trial and error. I have been after this. Well, I got diagnosed when I was 18. I'm 38. So 20 years, that's a really long time. So I have done things off and on, and there's been times that I haven't been very kind to my body, but I now have a way better understanding because I try. Oh, and that's the other thing I'll say. Don't go trying all these at once because you're not going to know what works. Try one for at least, I would say at least a month. So you have a cycle just to kind of figure part of that out. But don't go crazy and be like, oh, I want to try all the things. Try one and then slowly start adding some of the others in. All right, I could sit and talk about the Just Do the Pain for a long time. So if you have questions about that or questions in relationship to your own battle or struggle or suspicions, you let me know. And then the next thing here is belly massage. You can see here that I am working on my belly. I think that's me. I think that's me. That's my watch. I have pictures of so many people. So, like I said before, that viscera has to move. So endo or PCOS, getting into that belly, and I would start clockwise. Well, let me start over. I would start in the right lower quadrant. So you can see my hand is actually on the left side of my belly if you're looking at this picture. I would start on the right side and I would work up and around. So you're going counterclockwise. I said that wrong. So that you're following the line of your guts. So if you find an area that's kind of tender, just gently massage it. And again, remember the rules, pain-free during, pain-free after. You're just going to do some gentle circles. You can gently pluck the skin, but encouraging all those tissues to move is so important. And the piece that I'll say here, I like if I had a penny for every time I was asked this, I can't grab my skin. It keeps pulling away, right? That is your body's way of saying, this needs to move. Our fascia should move. Our gut should move. And our gut should be nice and soft and gentle. If my kiddos weren't watching TV, I would grab, and they're all the way, I'm in the basement. They're all the way upstairs. I would grab them so you can see their little guts and their little bellies move everywhere. Now, granted, I have a bunch of scar tissue. I've had 2 surgeries. I have endo. Our guts should move. So if you're interested in that, I can even do a video like dogs. Like if you have a dog, notice how all their guts move all around. It's not rock hard. Maybe that would be a good homework piece. Go take a look and see, report back. All right. And then the next little section here, and then I'm almost done, is sleep. I feel like there's been a bigger push of talking about sleep, and like the real flex is how much you sleep a night, not how much you don't sleep. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. All of our bodies are experiencing inflammation, chronic inflammation sometimes. If we are not sleeping, we are not healing. I'm going to say that one more time. If we are not sleeping, we are not healing. Now, one of the big reasons I believe why my endo flared up after my last baby was because my sweet little Bubba does not sleep. And I wasn't sleeping, so I wasn't healing very well, and my hormones were all over the place, and I didn't know I had the MTHFR gene, and that's a whole other conversation for another day, but the sleep is huge, and I am here to tell you, once I started making that a priority, the lengths we went to get Bubba to sleep in his own bed, but it made a huge change, and so whatever that needs to look like for you, use that too. One of the things I will say, a very natural option is tart cherry. I actually give it to my kids every night. I don't give them melatonin. I have my own personal reasons for that, but tart cherry, I just buy the organic Walmart brand, to be quite honest, and they have pour a little bit in a glass and they suck it down and we go to bed, and it helps proper sleep. The next thing is magnesium. Magnesium helps. What was that number I looked at the other day? Like over 800 biochemical reactions in our body. And so as women, right, our hormones are out of control. Maybe if we have endo, they told us that we need to be on birth control. Maybe if we are on PCOS, we are on birth control, and it's wrecking our bodies. I have some strong opinions about that. That's between you and your doctor, but I do think it's worthwhile getting educated on that. But I think, and I don't think you have to understand this, but my undergraduate degree is in dietetics. And so one of the courses I took was nutritional biochemistry, where I learned how all the different processes of how the body works. And I am here to tell you, it is a miracle that there's not more going wrong for all the different pieces that are happening inside of our body. And so magnesium is a very easy way to add to what we're already doing. And this is the one I actually take. I think it's pretty affordable off Amazon. And then the next is a detox bath. And you can do this with, there's certain bath salts you can do. I'm trying to remember. I just got a new one the other day. I know Hue and Grace, Lindsay's going to talk about this. Hue and Grace has some. There's different benefits to different detox baths. And so, like I said earlier, just pick one, start there and see if you notice a difference. So that's a really great way for you to kind of take a look at this and see, okay, what can I try? And buying, even just starting with Epsom salts, start there, try that, 2 to 3 times a week, and then see where that gets you. If that doesn't work, then go try something else. I'm not suggesting you have to go make and use a ton of different products. Start with one, see what works. All right. Okay, we're almost done here. So the last 2 other options, I call it my morning mocktail. And I personally look forward to this every morning just because it's typically fun and fruity and I look forward to it. So collagen can make a huge difference. So we talked about all those biochemical reactions. I've talked about hormones just very briefly, but for all the endocrine disruptors, which I'm pretty sure Lindsay will talk about, if you have questions about that, you're welcome to ask us either way. But again, these are just ways for us to support our body. So one of the ways I really have noticed a big difference is collagen. Not only does that help with gut health, but it also helps with our tissue health. So do you remember earlier when I talked about whether we have endo or PCOS, our guts are probably not doing great things, especially if we have tons of cysts, especially if we have endo lesions, especially if we have both. Encouraging the collagen to help our tissues and the different ligaments can make a difference, but try it and see. So that's one of the things I put in my morning mocktail. The second thing is I always add electrolytes. That's where the fun and fruity comes in. I personally like Relight. Not everyone likes it, but it is full of other electrolytes and vitamins and minerals. It's also a Utah company, and then the other thing that I add is myo-inositol. And that I can say for a fact has made a huge difference for me personally. And the other thing, this is not the one I use. So myo-inositol, I think I have like 1,000 servings. It's just a little powder I put in my drink. I think it was like $20. It was pretty affordable. But the other thing, I don't have PCOS, but the myo-inositol and the D-chiroinositol, that has been shown, maybe that's not the correct words. It could help with PCOS symptoms. I can't remember the exact reason of the D-chiroinositol, but anyways, it's right there for you. It's for you to go take a look and to go do your research. And of course, check with your provider to make sure there's no drug interactions happening there. And then the last thing that I will say is artichoke extract. So this particular one here is the exact one that I buy off Amazon. And a friend of mine who's a functional dietitian actually suggested this. She was saying to me, well, I love my period. My period's perfect. And I thought, on what planet are you living on? I've never thought that ever, which is typically a conversation about endo. Like that's one of the, signs. And she says, oh, go take this artichoke extract. It'll change your life. And I don't want to be too graphic here, but when my cycle starts, it is a production of a day, like days leading up to, I shouldn't say day, it's days. It's like at least 2 or 3 days. And one morning I was sitting, working on my computer, typing away, and I was sitting there and I thought, sure felt like my water broke. And it was the first time ever in a very, very, very long time that my cycle started without me even realizing it, because I typically have a big old several day warning, a big, landing strip, on ramp to when that happens. And so this is also a really affordable option to add in to what you have happening or not happening. And like I said, I am going to share this with you in the group. So if you are not able to, if you're like, well, I don't even know what's happening, you can't remember any of it, I suppose you could have done screenshots, but I will post it in the group that way that you have access to it. Some of these options, Lindsay, I'm pretty sure has some swaps with Hue and Grace, and we can present more of that later. And anyways, so there are, of course, we have some, say really fun offers. I don't know how you'd call fun offers, but we have some offers at the end of this. I will post some of those slides just so you can start thinking about it. I actually have to run. but I will post those slides later. So if you want to take a look at some of those offers that Lindsay and I have together, you can. And of course, any questions for either of us, you can do that too. Lindsay, it was really great to be here. Was there any questions I can answer? Anything that popped up in the chat? Anything for me to clarify before I run? I have to take my little one to dance.
No, I think we're good.
Okay.
Off for the questions on Friday.
Okay.
But yes, we will have some really cool offers before you guys do anything just yet. And we have I have some really good BOGO deals going on as well that will work. We will talk about in the next call. So thank you for all of the information. And yes, we will bring all questions to the third call and we will cover everything there so we can like save time and all that because we know you guys are busy. Thank you so much for being here and sharing all the good stuff. And we will see you guys on Wednesday.
Have a good one, ladies.